All right, today is Sunday, February 25th, 2024. My name is Ross Caputi, and I'm going to be doing an oral history interview with Ann Pacetti. This is for the Sonidoro collection at the Center for Italian Culture Archives at Fitchburg State University. Mrs. Pacetti, thank you for doing this with us.
You're welcome.
Just one quick thing before we begin. Would you please say and spell your complete name? Would you please say and spell your name?
I didn't get that.
Would you please say and spell your name?
How I spell my name?
Yep.
The last name or the whole
Whole thing.
Anna Pacetti. It's Pacetti.
And is Ann A-N-N-A or A-N-N-E?
Yes, A-N-N-A.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And can you tell me your birth date?
9/2/22.
9/2/22. All right. And where were you born again?
I was born in Buccino, Provincia di Salerno, Italy.
Okay, all right. And then how old were you when you came to the United States?
Almost 7.
Almost 7. Why did your parents choose to leave Italy?
Because of the Mussolini area, they didn't agree with what was going on at the time in Italy. Mussolini was coming into power.
Yeah. So then you guys came on a boat, right?
Yes, we came on on a boat. It took us 9 days, and the name of it was Conte Grande.
Okay. And it landed in New York?
No, actually, yes, we did. Yes.
Do you remember your first impression of seeing New York?
Yes.
Yeah, what was that like?
Yeah. It was quite impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So were you excited? Were you sad to leave home? Maybe mixed emotions?
Oh, at the time, it was just something we did, and I didn't think about it one way or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So then how did your family end up going from New York to Fitchburg?
Well, we stopped in New York. I had an aunt and uncle in New York in the Bronx area,
Mm-hmm.
and they came to get us. We stayed there overnight, and then next day we took the bus to Fitchburg. We came to Fitchburg because that's where my father first came to stay. Well, first he landed. He went to New Haven to begin with, and then after he was there maybe a couple of months, my aunt who lives in Fitchburg asked him to come here and live with them.
I see, okay.
And shortly after that, he opened up a business on Water Street. It was called Volpe's Variety, and it was at the corner of 5th and Water Street.
Okay. So your father ran a variety store?
We lived in that corner house, which has now been, afterwards they demolished that house.
Yeah, I think there's new apartment buildings there, right? I think there's new big apartment buildings where that house used to be.
No, actually, we just had a 2-family house right next door.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there was a big apartment building in the back of the store.
Okay.
And my father also did sheet metal work. So behind the store, he had one of the rooms where he repaired pans and made pans, things like that.
Okay. Did your mom have a profession or any hobbies even?
Yeah. Any what?
Hobbies?
Hobbies?
Yeah.
Well, she liked to sew. Yeah, she was a good cook. We made a lot of things. We made a lot of homemade clothes at the time. Yeah. She also worked in the business with my father.
Okay. All right. And this was all in the Patch neighborhood, right? Your house and your family's business was in the Patch neighborhood, correct?
In the Patch
Yeah.
area? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. right at the corner of the bridge there.
Yeah.
Just before you go up the bridge.
Um,
And across the street they had a fire station.
yeah, that's right. The building is still
It's
there,
still
right?
it's still there, but it's not
Yeah.
operable.
Yeah. So when you first came into the neighborhood, what was it like? Was it scary? Did you feel welcomed?
Well, I started the first grade,
Yeah.
and the grade was all filled up, so I had to sit near one of the students. They had put a chair near one of the students, and I had to share a book with them.
Okay.
And they also made me the mascot uh, of the school. You know, when they had once a year they had the football.
Yeah.
They used to have their football field, and
Uh-huh.
4 men would carry me like a felt.
Really?
Yeah, to Crocker Field when they had their game.
Okay. So you went to Fitchburg Public School, or was it St. Bernard's or another one?
No, I went to public school, Nolan School.
Nolan School, all right.
Nolan School. And
Okay.
afterwards I went to Fitchburg High School.
Okay. Was it easy to make friends?
I found it easy. I had gone through the first grade in Italy, so, you know, I knew all the work that was going on. I couldn't speak the language, but I understood everything that was going on. And when it was time for me to go into the second grade, they had me skip the second grade and put me in the third grade.
Because you were doing really well.
Yes, I did. I went right along from there.
Okay.
I had no problem understanding what was going on.
Uh-huh.
I picked up the language very quickly.
Uh-huh. Did your parents continue to speak Italian to you in the house, or did they speak English also?
In the house, we spoke Italian.
Now, did you speak Italian or Napolitano?
Actually, we actually spoke real Italian,
Yeah.
although my part of my family was in Naples. One of them owned a hotel.
Oh.
One of my cousins owned a hotel in Naples.
Yeah.
And actually, he's the one that first came to New York.
All right.
Yeah. They sold the hotel and they moved to New York.
Mm-hmm. Okay. At home, when your mom cooked, did she cook like Napolitano cuisine or like general Italian cuisine?
She was a very good cook. She cooked all Italian food, all type of Italian
Yeah.
food, a lot of homemade macaroni.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So once you got comfortable in the neighborhood and you had a few friends, what did you guys do for fun?
You mean the whole family or just me?
You and your friends in the neighborhood.
Well, right next door to our store, there was a man who sharpened knives. And he had a daughter, and she was my best girlfriend.
Uh-huh.
We went to the movies, and of course, right across the street from our store, they had a playground, so we used to go there and play volleyball. That's about it. Went to the movies and used to play games and so forth.
Did you guys have a way to travel around the city, maybe bicycles, or were there city buses you could take to go different
They
places?
did have buses at the time. They used to go by right on Water Street. They came right by the house every day. So we didn't take the bus, or we did a lot of walking. We walked uptown every Saturday. And we used to go up there, and they had a lot of eating places, so we'd go up there and shop and have something to eat.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember any of the restaurants that existed back then?
We went to the movies a lot.
Yeah. Do you remember any of the restaurants at the time?
I can't think of the names of them, right? I think Ricca's was one of them.
Uh-huh, okay.
Yeah, Ricca's, and I can't remember the others. They had Rogers right at the square, clothing store.
Okay.
He had the Universal Theater, the Fitchburg Theater at the time.
What about church? Was church a big part of your life?
Church, oh yes, yeah, we had to go to church every single Sunday. Yeah.
And where did your family go? St. Bernard's or St. Anthony's?
St. Anthony.
St. Anthony's, okay. Um, did you guys participate in any feasts or celebrations?
Uh, yeah, we had, what did we have, Sylvia? Celebrations.
Did you guys do the St. Anthony's Festival?
Yes, yeah, they had that every year.
Yeah. So what was that like? Was that a really big deal?
We also had, well, later on we joined the Sons of Italy.
Uh-huh.
So,
And prior to that, was your family part of any social clubs, the PP Club, the Marconi Club?
no, we didn't belong to the PB Club. Was for Sicilians
Yeah.
mostly, so it wasn't, our group.
Yeah.
And the Marconi Club, we used to go there once in a while, but we didn't belong to that either.
Now, the PP Club was for Sicilians. The Marconi Club, did it have a regional identity? Was it more Napolitano?
It was at the Polish Club, but I think anybody could join there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what are some of your favorite memories of growing up in the Patch?
Of what?
Of growing up in the Patch from your childhood. What are some of your favorite memories?
Well, you sit outside at night. We'd put chairs outside the store and sit there when the weather was nice, and
Yeah.
people would go by, and we knew everybody on the street, everybody in the area.
That's interesting.
So everybody was very friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, in Italy, after dinner, what do? You do a passeggiata, right?
Actually, we didn't do too much of that, although I had my husband's brother came over from Italy at one time and stayed here about 5 years. He was the one that used to go for that passeggiata.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we went to Italy, that's what they did at
Yeah.
night. They used to go for that passeggiata all the time.
Yeah. But in the Patch, it was different. It was more you just sat in your chairs and, talked to your neighbors.
No, it was just people walking around.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
There also was a barber shop right across the street from us.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was Mitola's barber shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was that, like a fun area, everybody hanging out at the barbershop? Yeah. Okay. So you did Fitchburg Public Schools all the way up through high school, right?
I also took a 1-year college course.
Was that after you graduated high school?
After the high school.
Okay.
After high school, yeah.
All right, and what was the course in?
Pardon?
What was the course in?
What was the course in?
Yeah.
Secretarial course.
Okay. And then did you go into secretarial work after that, or did you study more?
What I did for work?
Yeah. Did you take that course because you wanted to do secretarial work?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. And is that what you did after?
Yeah.
Okay. So how long did you do that work for?
Well, I worked at Foster Grant for a little while, and then I worked for, at the time, that was after the year that I graduated, war had broken out. And so I went to work for a little while. It was a place uptown for a defense plant, right behind that empty store uptown there. That little area, that little street that you go in there. I forget what it was called.
Yeah, I'm not
They
sure.
did defense work. Yeah, they made parachutes
Okay.
for the troops.
Oh, okay.
And I worked there for a little while. Um, I forget what my title was at the time. Can't remember right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that like when the war broke out? Was that a scary time?
Pardon?
What was it like when the war broke out? Was it a scary time?
Uh, well, we had a lot of things that were rationed.
Yeah.
We had to get tickets, silk was rationed. You had to get a ticket. You just buy so much of that. Some of the food was rationed. You just could buy so much meat during the week.
Mm-hmm.
They had a lot of things that were rationed at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you able to communicate with any of your family in Italy?
Pardon?
Were you able to communicate with any family still in Italy? Like, were you able to send letters, or I don't know
Oh,
if
yeah.
phone calls
Yeah.
were possible to
Yeah.
talk with your
Yeah.
relatives in
Yeah.
Italy?
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah. Was it scary that the war was happening over there for them?
I can't hear you.
Was it scary that your relatives were over there for the war?
Actually, one of my cousins, one of my cousins from New York, was in the was drafted in the army, and he went to Italy. He was stationed in Italy at the time,
Uh-huh.
and when he came back, he had bought a lot of the marble that they have in Italy
Oh, yeah?
and brought it back. And when he came here, he installed all that marble around his house.
Oh, okay. But what about your relatives still in...
Actually, my husband's father was a coal miner
Yeah.
in Pennsylvania,
Uh-huh.
and he went back to Italy. So while they were there during the war, my husband's sister was asked to be one of the interpreters for the army.
Oh.
So, because she knew, she was born here,
Mm-hmm.
so she knew English and Italian.
Yeah. Did you have any other relatives still in Italy during the war?
Yes, we did, yeah. One of my aunts was left in Italy.
Uh-huh.
She was still there. And my mother's sister was also in Italy with her family.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did have family there.
Yeah. Were you ever able to exchange letters with them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember what kind of things they were saying?
Pardon?
Do you remember what they were saying? Were they afraid?
No, I don't think there was any fear.
Yeah. Were you worried about them? Were you afraid for them? Were you afraid for your relatives?
No.
Okay.
My husband went in the service.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the year after I graduated high school, he was drafted, so he was in the service 4 years. And he was stationed at Presque Isle, Maine.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the Army 4 years, the Army Air Force. And when he was stationed at Presque Isle, Maine, and that was about 10 miles from the Canadian border.
Mm-hmm.
And I also worked on the post as a secretary. And we could see B-29 used to land right outside our windows.
Wow.
We could see the planes that would come in from overseas and the planes that would leave the outgoing soldiers that would be going overseas.
Wow. Was there any chance that your husband was going to get sent overseas?
He was supposed to leave for overseas the following day, and the day before, war was declared over. So he didn't have to go.
That's pretty lucky.
It was quite, just that one day thing the way he would have gone.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
But we skipped over you two meeting. How did you meet your husband?
Oh, that was that was kind of interesting. He lived in Pennsylvania. As I said, his father was a coal mine before he went back to Italy. And he went to Italy for a visit and then came back. And then he went back a second time. Well, when he went back a second time, he had a brother over there. And he told him about a monastery that was for sale. It had gone defunct. And so he encouraged him to buy that monastery. It was a big piece of land. And so his father decided that they were going to go back to Italy and live there. Took all his family there, which was my husband also had two brothers and two sisters. So all his family went with him, and he told my husband to stay here at the time because war was breaking out, and he was afraid that he might get drafted in the Italian army.
I see.
So after his father decided it was safe for him to come over there, he asked him to come back to Italy. And my husband said no. He wasn't going to a foreign land. He knew nobody, and he wanted to stay in the United States. So at the time, his aunt, who lived in Leominster, asked him to come to Leominster to live with her. And so his friend, like the girl that was the knife was the knife sharpener's daughter. Yeah, he was going out with her.
Oh, all right.
And so one night they came to her house, him and my husband. We were trying. I was at Mary's house because we were trying to start a little orchestra. We all played instruments. Yeah, the girl Mary played the piano. I played the Hawaiian guitar, and we got two other people, a drummer and a sax player.
All right.
So while we were rehearsing, both of them walked in, and that's how I met him. So my girlfriend Mary's father didn't like her going out with boys alone, so she asked if I would go out with his friend, if we could go together. So we used to go to Whalen Park and hang around there. So that's how I met him. That was the beginning.
Okay, all right. But then, during the war, obviously, did you guys get married during the war?
Pardon?
Did you guys get married during the war?
Did we get married? Oh, we got married while my husband was in the war. It was in the service. He said that we should get married. So we got married on a 19-day furlough while he was in the service. Well, we had to get everything together in 19 days, the wedding, the tuxes, whoever were to stand up for us and so forth, the bridesmaids and so forth. Yeah.
Did you get to do a honeymoon? Did you get to go on a honeymoon?
Yes, we did. He had 19 days, so we went to Niagara Falls.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice.
I have a picture of the wedding, too, if you're interested.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, Sylvia, will you look for that under there?
So it must have been a relief that he never had to go to war, huh?
No, he never had to go.
Yeah. So when he came back, what kind of life did you imagine for yourselves here in Fitchburg? What did you and your husband want to do?
Well, he didn't go to work right away because they were saying that they were supposed to get some kind. They were giving the soldiers some kind of money or something like that. When he finally did go to work, he went to work at Foster Grant, and he became foreman for the what was it?
Shipping department.
In the shipping room.
Yeah.
Yeah, he became foreman in the shipping room.
Okay.
And I went to work as a secretary.
Mm-hmm.
I worked at Foster Grant for a while.
Okay, great. And what did you guys like to do for fun?
We used to love to dance.
Yeah.
He liked music. He
Mm-hmm.
was a musician. And I liked music too. So we used to follow all the name bands. That was
Yeah.
the best thing we liked to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were some of the fun places to go in town? Maybe the Whalen Playhouse?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they used to get name bands over there all
Yeah.
the time, and we always used to go out of town wherever they had a
Yeah.
name band.
Yeah. Were there any other good places to go for music here in town?
Well, they used to have dances uptown too.
Yeah.
Up Main Street, they had a place that they used to have a weekly dance up
Mhm.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What else? Did you guys have other hobbies? Were you active in the church?
Did we have what
Other hobbies, maybe?
other hobbies? Um, well, I took up a lot of things. I used to like to go to night school and take up different things.
Okay.
Like I took up leather crafting
All right.
and
Yeah.
painting.
All right.
I did a lot of things. Sewing. I went to a sewing school also.
So, when did you two start to have children and build a family?
Well, actually, the first year after when he was in the army, I had a child, and it only lived one day. So
I'm sorry.
yeah, it was about 5 years after that we started a family. Yeah, and I had 4 children.
Okay.
2 boys and 2 girls.
All right. So now we're, early 1950s in Fitchburg, right? About the time you two started having a family.
Mm-hmm.
Were these happy years in Fitchburg?
Yes.
Yeah.
1951 was my first child.
Mm-hmm. And were you still living in the patch at this point? Were you still living in the patch?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How did the patch change from when you were a little girl living there to when you were a grown woman?
Well, when we first came here, it was an Irish section.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. The whole street was Irish.
Okay.
Actually, my father said that at one time, before we came here, the Irish had kind of pushed them off the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should, there was a lot of
animosity.
Yeah, animosity. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was all Irish. They didn't go for anybody else. And later on, they immigrated up on South Street. In this area,
Yeah.
and then it became an Italian section,
Mm-hmm.
and there were all Italian stores on
Mm-hmm.
Water Street after that.
Yeah.
All a lot of Italian markets, and there was also a supermarket there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, when we first came here, we lived with my aunt who was living here across from St. Bernard's Church.
Yeah.
Which later became Stella's Beauty Shop.
Okay.
Yeah. And then later on, as I said, we moved halfway down Water Street when my father bought the house and the business and so forth.
Right. Okay. Okay. Oh, these are the photos?
Yeah. How about the one with the wedding picture? It's in here too. This is my husband.
Do you want to tilt it up a little bit so the camera can see?
Where's the wedding the picture with the whole group?
It's right here.
Wow, that's nice. Your husband's still in uniform, I can see.
That's the wedding picture that we had to put together in 19 days.
Wow. Well, it came out really nice. Okay, so, thinking about your life in the 1950s while you're starting to build a family, what are some of your favorite memories of this period? So from the 1950s, when you're starting to build a family with your husband, what are some of your favorite memories of this time?
The faded members.
Your favorite memories. Your favorite memories from this time. What are the things you remember most from this period in the 1950s?
Well, I guess when I was bringing my children up,
Yeah.
you know, was a little bit hard at the time because,
Yeah.
yeah, when I had 4 children,
Yeah.
I didn't get to do too much because naturally
Yeah, of
your
course.
life isn't your own anymore.
Yeah. But what about like, Christmases, first communions, birthday parties? Is there anything that stands
Oh,
out?
everybody's birthday was at my house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we always got together for those.
Were they big parties?
Well, the whole family, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had quite a family, like about 20 people or so.
Oh yeah. What about Sunday dinners? Did you guys do Sunday dinners? Sunday dinners?
Sunday dinners?
Yeah.
Yeah. We had all my family here for Sunday dinners.
Yeah.
I used to
All the
do
whole
the
20
cooking.
people? Yeah.
We had my 2 daughters and their husbands naturally. Later on, they had children, so whoever was around, we always got together.
Okay.
We always had this dinner table full.
Yeah. Well, I imagine if there's 20 people in the house. Did you cook your mother's recipes for your family?
Yes.
Yeah.
When I had my children, I wasn't working for a while, so my mother and I also always did cooking together. Actually, my mother later on bought this house right next door to us,
Mm-hmm.
so she'd come over and help me cook and so forth.
Mm.
She was the dishwasher. She used to wash all the dishes.
That's nice. And you mentioned that at one point you guys joined the Sons of Italy.
Yes, my husband joined first, and then I joined, and then as my children grew up, they also joined.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a big part of my life.
Yeah.
He was also in the Grand Lodge. They also have a national lodge.
Yeah.
Sons of Italy has.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he was pretty active in that, and I was too.
What made you guys want to join?
Well, my husband joined a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
He was the type of person that was always busy with something.
Yeah.
He was also he was also involved in the union.
Uh-huh.
Unions. He was he.
Music union.
Yeah, he was. Let me think a minute.
Okay, sure. Well, while you're thinking of it, did you guys join the Sons of Italy because you wanted to be around other Italian people?
Yes.
Or was it important to you to preserve Italian culture and make sure?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that was very important. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously your kids got involved too.
He was also manager of the Italian colonial band.
Okay.
And he also became manager of the German band.
Mm-hmm.
And what's that other band they have? The Lemster Colonial, and that other band that they have from, I forget. Anyway, he was manager of 3 different bands.
Okay. Well, so he was very busy.
Yeah, he was very involved in music. Yeah.
Okay. Church too? Were you guys involved in church? Were you involved in the church?
Yes, I was the secretary of the parish council. at our church.
Okay. Still at St. Anthony's? Okay, terrific. So one final question. What do you think it means to pass on Italian culture to our children? How do we continue to pass on Italian culture?
Well, when my mother was here, we used to speak Italian all the time, naturally, but
Yeah.
after she's gone, if you don't use it, you lose it. So there is nobody to talk Italian to
Yeah.
anymore.
But are there other ways, food or other traditions that we can do to pass on Italian culture?
I belonged to the Center for Italian Culture at the college.
Yep.
Yeah, way back, my sister and I took 2 night courses, actually. The teacher we had was an Italian. I forget his name. I think he was
But the topic?
Middle Eastern, or
Maybe.
I forget what his name was. Yeah. Actually, when we first started, and he wrote something on the board, I kind of corrected one of the sentences he had up there.
Oh, so this was a course in Italian?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
At the time, did you know Anna Metz-Ferrier at all?
Yeah.
I know they have a Metz-Ferrier's room up there,
Yeah.
which she donated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the time that we had joined.
Right, okay.
We had joined the CIC.
Okay, terrific.